Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Rundown, where we talk about 2A news and conservative views. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. And let me welcome you to Taco Tuesday.
It's raining tacos from out of the sky. Tacos, no need to ask why. Just open your mouth and close your eyes. It's raining tacos. It's raining tacos out in the street. Tacos, all you can eat. Lettuce and shells, cheese and meat. It's raining tacos. Yum, 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 yummity yum. It's like a treat. It's raining tacos.
Okay, well, that was weird. Folks, like, see, that's how you guys know that this show is live. This is how you know that we're just everyday folk just trying to make things happen for you. Apologize. It's always tough because, as I always like to tell you, I am both in front of the camera and behind the camera at the same time. I'm trying to do it all, right? And I'm trying to do it all live. So I'm all trying to, get the videos playing in the background and get the other stuff up and all that fun stuff. And sometimes I'm able to pull it off without a hitch and sometimes not. But hey, you know what? You guys are pretty forgiving. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate all that you tolerate when it comes to the work here at the Rundown. As you can see, Mikey is not here today, unfortunately. I did send him the link, so who knows? Maybe he will have the opportunity to join us. Tuesdays are kind of a hard day for him because he does a lot of his Civil Air Patrol stuff and a lot of his community service stuff on this day. So it's always kind of hard for him to make it. But, sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. And if he can, we always have a good time. Folks, just want to let you know, just because it's us, that means it's always better if we do the chat thing. If you hit us up on chat now, I got a couple of different boxes up and going. I've got the Facebook for OpsLens. I've got that box up here. I've got our box over on Rumble up because that doesn't come through. And then most of the other feeds actually come through, like the YouTube feed, the Facebook feed. Those chat feeds or Twitter, those tend to come through the service that we use. So I can see those as well. So I'm going to be going around. If you got something you want to say, something you want to chime in on, please do us a favor and, go ahead and make your voice heard. Feel free. Now, today's going to be kind of interesting because, we're going to be talking about a sensitive subject that I know has been challenged on other platforms, that I know that other platforms are censoring. So I don't know how much of what we're going to talk about today they're going to wind up censoring. Facebook and YouTube, they have a hard time with the truth. But you know what? I'm going to bring it to you because if I don't, no one else will. Well, I won't say no one else because someone brought it to me. I'm in a position to be able to bring it to you. So anyway, but before we get into any of that, I want to do a quick shout out because we got to make sure that we hit up our sponsors because they're the ones who make this possible. All right, we're going to start off. We're going to talk about Hitman Industries, the best in pistol and rifle length barrels. Whatever you're looking for, trust me, whether you're looking to do a rebuild or maybe you're just looking to rebarrel your current rifle, they are the place to go. In fact, if you've recently purchased an AR, chances are you already have one of their barrels. So, hey, why not get another one? All you got to do is go to hitmanindustries.net. And if you are a first responder, know that you can get a discount, 20% discount on your first order. So make sure you check them out once again, hitmanindustries.net. We have the California Republican Assembly, otherwise known by Ronald Reagan as the conscience of the Republican Party, or as I like to call them, the Republican wing of the Republican Party in the state of California. Just had a big endorsement convention, endorsed Eric Early for U.S. Senate and President Donald Trump for President of the United States in 2024. You want to learn more about them, learn more about the candidates that they support, check them out at cragop.org. That's cragop.org. Once again, the Republican wing of the Republican Party. You want to be a part of California's future today? Join CRA. Once again, that was easy for me to say. Then we've got Hawg Holsters, HAWG Holsters, helping Americans wear guns. You can find them at hogholster.com, the best in concealed carry tactical holsters that are out there. Whatever setup you have, trust me, they have a holster that can work for you. Check them out at hogholsters.com. Make sure you use the discount code, The Rundown, all caps, no spaces. Just look right up there. Do you see how it is right there? You see it's all caps. You see there's no spaces. It's all one word. Do that for your discount code, and you got a nice little discount. Let's call it a gift for watching The Rundown. And then finally, you have uscombatgear.com. The best in outdoor gear, tactical gear, whatever you're looking for, hats, boots, whether you're looking for opticals, whether you're looking for glasses, sunglasses, trust me, they have them. Check them out. They have great prices. They have fast shipping and a great selection. Check them out, veteran-owned and operated, uscombatgear.com. All right, let's go ahead and get into today's first topic, and we're going to talk, we're going to get into the Manifesto from the what do you want to call him? The Manifesto from the shooter that was in Tennessee. Now, you might remember a while ago, there was a shooting at a Christian school. And by the way, if you're wondering, that's why the title of the story is the way I put the title of the story. It is a trans Christian school shooter. They were not Christian. The person was trans. She was trans, or at least she says she was trans because she, started the manifesto as Audrey and ended it as Aiden. So I don't know if the transition was done in the process of this whole shebangy bang. But anyway, suffice it to say, there was a manifesto that was made available at that time. Now, you might recall other times in which there have been manifestos. The media doesn't hesitate to release it. In particular, if it is a white supremacist. If it's a white supremacist and their goal is to attack whoever else it is, if it's to attack gay people, if it's to attack black people, you might remember the Charleston shootings. Once again, they released that bad boy right away. Whether it was the incident that occurred down in Australia, once again, same thing. They always release the manifesto right away. But for some reason, in this case, they decided they weren't going to release the manifesto right away. They were going to hold on to it. They weren't going to put it out there. Well, some folks over at Louder with Crowder, Steven Crowder, who has long been a conservative commentator and comedian, has a really, really good show. You guys definitely want to check out over on Rumble. They're on YouTube too, but the good stuff always gets censored on YouTube. So the best place to watch them is over at Rumble. Or you can listen, by the way. You can listen to them over on Spotify. But basically, he was able to work. They have a undercover investigative team, we'll call it, that actually was successful in getting at least part of the manifesto, as far as we know. Now, so far, no one, and I wanted to wait kind of 24 hours to see if anybody was going to challenge the authenticity of it, and no one's challenged the authenticity of the manifesto or the original. So as far as we know, it's theirs. Oh, there you go. Now you guys see the board. Sorry about that. Oh, now I got you over here on the YouTube board. Let me get you back over to where you're supposed to be. There we go. Back over here. All right. So no one's challenged the authenticity of it. Now, we don't know if it's the whole thing. Some people have said, well, why would you just release part of it? Well, if there's more out there, why haven't you released it yet? Well, in this particular case, now I think we're learning why, and I'll read a little bit of the story here. This, once again, being from the Washington Times. A Nashville shooter whose rampage left 6 dead sought to kill, quote, little crackers with, quote, white privileges, according to excerpts from the perpetrator's long-concealed journal reportedly obtained by a conservative media group. Steven Crowder, host of Louder with Crowder podcast, posted Monday 3 pages of what he said was the manifesto of Audrey Hale, a 28-year-old attacker who was shot dead by Nashville police during the deadly March 27th attack on Covenant School. Excerpts from the expletive-laden manifesto, which have not been verified by the Washington Times, indicate that Hale, who was white, was motivated by racial hatred against white children. The journal includes an entry dated February 3rd that said, "Want to kill all you little crackers. Bunch of little effing with your effers, I will just say, with your white privileges," according to Crowder's post on X on his website. There's a link to the website. By the way, this article once again is over at the Washington Times. Now, several people have come out and they're very angry with Mr. Crowder for releasing this. And my thing is, why are you mad? Why are you mad at him for releasing something that clearly should have been put out there? Now, here's the deal. If you're someone who's against the idea of releasing manifestos, that's one thing. If the media is trying to say now that it's irresponsible to release manifestos, that's one thing. But for some reason, once again, they seem to have no problem releasing excerpts or paraphrasing manifestos when it fits a narrative. And the narrative that they want to put out there is, well, white supremacists who are out to kill people of color or kill people who are trans or kill people who are gay or people who are Jewish. I mean, that's the narrative that they're okay with, if that's what the narrative is. But in this particular case, once again, these are 3 pages. I did not know that 3 pages constitutes a manifesto, but I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna take a leap, and I'm gonna guess that there's more. But my question is, why wasn't this put out before? Why wasn't it made clear, especially if you don't know if there's anyone else out there, if there's anyone else who's a part of this, who maybe have been planning it with this individual? Why wouldn't you put that information out there? Because here's the thing. The reason why is, I'll tell you why they don't want you to, because they don't want people to hear that there are people out there who have bought into the DEI, critical race theory dogma, right? In particular, and by the way, let's be clear, this person had mental health issues, right? I separate and apart from them being transgendered, I'm not separate and apart from that. This person clearly had issues. I think anyone who decides that they're going to go to a school and shoot children has mental health issues. Clearly from this manifesto, this individual had mental health issues. But they did not make up terms like white privilege themselves. They didn't make that up, right? This stuff all came, the term cracker. Now, I can tell you, as someone who grew up in a household where I was made familiar with that term, I heard that term growing up, and it was not a positive term for white people. It was a very, very negative connotation term used for white people. But here's a white person using it. This person had clearly internalized the hate from the, once again, anti-racism, right? The anti-racism of the DEI that's being pushed out there, the rampant racism that exists in anti-racism training and anti-racism education. And by the way, I have no problem saying that. I've gone through diversity. I've been through diversity training. I've been through sexual harassment training. Heck, I went to school. I went to school in a place that was, out of 16,000 students, there were less than 300 that were black. In a time when we didn't have no internet. Trust me, I know racism when I see it. But let me tell you something. I have seen nothing more racist than the anti-racism dogma that's being pushed out there. I'll just tell you right now. If someone wants to challenge me on it, you are more than welcome. Go ahead and hit me up in the comments, or go ahead and send me an email, send me a message me on Facebook, Twitter, however you want to do it. But I have absolutely no problem saying that there is nothing more racist than anti-racism training. In any case, now we see that it does have an impact. First of all, I think we always knew that it had an impact, right? Those who ascribe to, I think, some of the same things that you and I ascribe to, we always knew that it had an impact. But in this particular case, we now know that it's having a negative impact, that it's affecting people on an emotional, psychological level, and it ain't good. I think it's safe enough to say It ain't good. And we ought to be able to point that out. Sadly enough, though, I don't know that we're going to be able to deal with it. And here we have a guy named Joe. Okay, so Joe's commenting over at Opslands. He says, "Keep the sick F's name and manifesto or psychotic ramblings off the internet. The vast majority of these disturbed individuals strive and wish for notoriety. Stop glorifying their minds, their thoughts, and their actions." I don't disagree with you in general, Joe, but here's the problem. Once again, we put it out there. The media puts it out there as evidence of white supremacy, as evidence of racism against people of color, as evidence against transphobia or against those who are against the LGBTQ community. But as soon as the narrative changes, as soon as the narrative says, well, it's because they're against white Christians, as soon as Christians become the target, as soon as white people become the target, now all of a sudden they don't want to say anything. They don't want to alarm anybody that there might be there might be others out there who might be seeking to attack. I think that's a problem, and I think you should think that that is a problem. If you want to talk about it being a double standard, talk about it being a double standard. But in this particular case, like I said, what I'm talking about here, what I'm dealing with here is, people just deciding that they're going to do their own thing, and they're going to ignore. They're going to, once again, if it doesn't fit their narrative, then they're not going to put the message out there. And I, for one, am like, look, you either do all of it or you do none of it. And in this particular case, that's the reason why I feel comfortable. I feel okay sharing it. Anyway, but I am going to go ahead and move along. Okay, this next story is one that, once again, you also will not hear much in the mainstream media, partially because it doesn't fit a narrative. Once again, it goes back to not fitting a narrative. Now, I'm hearing all of these reports out of the White House about, the anti-Semitic, about the anti-Muslim, anti-Palestinian stuff that has been going on, but no one's talking about, or at least very few people, or at least if they do talk about the anti-Semitism that's taken place, it's kind of a throwaway. They're throwing in, there's anti-Palestinian, anti-Arab, anti-Muslim hate, and then they throw in anti-Semitism, like as if that is the rare thing that's happening. But we're seeing incidences of individuals who are being discriminated against. First of all, protests with thousands of people showing up, and in big cities and on college campuses, basically calling for the destruction of Israel. And I'm sorry, but when you from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. That is not a whimsical song. That is, we want to eliminate. We're going to eliminate the existence of Israel. Israel did not have a right to exist, and it should be eliminated. That's what that means. And there are people who are chanting that on college campuses, in the streets of American cities, not just national, not just other countries, but in American cities. And then you have instances like this that are taking place.
We begin with some breaking news. A pro-Palestinian protest turns deadly after an elderly Jewish man was hit over the head with a megaphone by a Palestinian protester. It happened yesterday in Westlake Village at Westlake and Thousand Oaks Boulevard. Police say after the man was hit with that megaphone, he fell to the ground and hit his head. He later died at the hospital from that fall. The Ventura County Sheriff's Department arrived at the scene, began interviewing eyewitnesses. However, as of now, no arrests have been made in connection with that assault.
Late today, a statement from the Jewish Federation of Greater Los Angeles says, in part, violence against our people has no place in civilized society. We demand safety. We will not tolerate violence against our community. We will do everything in our power to prevent it.
Now, there have been incidents on college campuses where Jewish students have been threatened and attacked. And once again, this was an individual who basically got hit over the head and then hit his head on the ground. right? We don't know what the incidence is, but I can tell you this. If that individual had been Muslim, if they had been Palestinian or supporter of Palestine, this would be on every major news network in the country. Instead, it's only being reported on local news. You're only seeing it on local news. If we're going to be about allowing people to exercise their First Amendment rights, then that means that not just the pro-Hamas people should be allowed to express their opinions, right? That also means that if you are pro-Israel, you have a right to be able to express your opinion publicly as well, and to do so without the threat of violence. But that's not what we have going on here. That's definitely not what we have going on in this particular case. Anyway, I just think that once again, this whole idea of and whitewashing it is not even I don't even know that that's the appropriate term and the appropriate way that I would refer to it, but there is this attempt to equivocate or equate actions by Israel and actions by Hamas, and I'll just say that is BS. Hamas engaged in a direct attack intentionally on civilians, seeking to do harm, specifically on civilians, specifically going after young people and children by parasailing or paragliding in and attacking a concert where you knew it was a peace concert where you knew that there was nothing but young people, by going into families and going into homes and beheading children, by torturing children in front of their parents or parents in front of their children, by killing them and burning them, in some cases burning them alive. And by the way, just so you know, they filmed it. The propaganda stuff, the videos that you see that are out there, most of those are not provided by the IDF. Most of those are provided by Hamas themselves, because they are reveling in what they have done. They are glorifying what they have done. They are celebrating what they have done. Now, they're equivocating that to Israel first doing specific strategic bombings of strategic locations in the Gaza Strip, before which they drop leaflets telling people to evacuate, before which they send text messages, before which they make phone calls, while all asking people to please evacuate. This is not going to be a safe place for you, right? They cut off water and power that they were supplying in the northern part and kept it on in the south so that they could encourage people to leave, to get out, so that they could then go in and deal with Hamas, so that they could go after the people who attacked civilians, who killed women, who killed children and tortured them and killed them, raped, tortured, and killed them, right? In other words, so that they could make sure that justice was done. The very same people who are deliberately hiding behind the citizens there in Israel, I mean, not in Israel, in the Gaza Strip. They are hiding behind the Palestinians. They are, in some cases, forcing them, not allowing them to leave, but forcing them to stay there as human shields. But y'all got to understand. Now, those people and what they're doing, and the people who are dying because Hamas is doing that. Once again, Hamas, who is, and by the way, everything that I just described to you are all considered war crimes. Every single one of them, right? But bombing strategic locations after making every attempt to evacuate civilians in order to protect your people, that is the same as they're trying to equate that to the brutality that Hamas did. They're trying to equate that. I don't get it. I don't get how anybody in their right mind could tolerate that, could agree with that, could support that. But evidently, there are a bunch of people out there that do. I don't know why, but they do. Anyway, and so anyway, I hope this guy gets better. We will definitely be praying for you, sir. But I think it's time that we stood up and realized that the people on the left, and when I say the people on the left, the whether we're talking the Marxists, whether we're talking the all of these folks on the left, if you are on the left and you are not a supporter of the sort of violence that resulted in this man being harmed, then you need to speak up. If you're on the left and you do not support the raping of civilian women and their murders, or the burning of families and their children, if you don't support those things, then you need to speak out against Hamas. Period. I don't need you to defend Palestine. What you need to be doing is speaking out against Hamas. And right now, nobody hears you doing that. If you are doing it, nobody's hearing it because you're spending most of your time speaking out in favor of Hamas and promoting the sort of stuff like this. Now, this. All right. In this particular, it says here, Anne Frank Kindergarten will be renamed to be more diverse, and this is from the Telegraph. A German kindergarten has said it will drop Anne Frank from its name in favor of a more diverse alternative, adding fuel to the national debate over anti-Semitism amid the Israeli-Hamas war. The kindergarten in the village of Tangerhut in Eastern Germany said it was rebranding itself World Explorer Kindergarten in order to be more inclusive. The name change ends a half-a-century association with the Jewish 15-year-old who died in Bergen-Belsen concentration camp in 1945. We want a name without a political background, Linda Scheischer, the kindergarten's director, told the local newspaper. Miss Scheischer said the story of Anne Frank was difficult to explain to small children, while immigrant families had often never heard of her or her diary about her family's attempt to remain hidden from the Nazis that occupied Amsterdam. Now, let's just be clear. In Russia, a lot of the folks Rumble. Let me pull it up here real quick. It says, "What a shame the media hide this. I'm glad LWC Louder with Crowder got the papers. We are live. Live now discussing this as well. Oh, I guess someone else on another forum is discussing this as well. Um, on to the next story. Those accused of domestic violence could lose their 2A rights. Okay, so this is from a story where the Supreme Court heard testimony, or is hearing testimony about the role of, about whether or not those with domestic violence, I don't know why I do not have the story up here. Looking for it. That ain't it. Anyway, well, I'll just talk to you about it. So they're hearing a case that basically says that if you are accused of domestic violence, right? If you are accused of domestic violence, in many states, you actually lose your right to keep and bear arms. If a domestic violence restraining order is issued against you, that's it. You're done. You lose your right to keep and bear arms, at least until the restraining order is lifted. Now, let me say this. One, if you are a domestic abuser, if you are a person who has inflicted violence upon somebody, upon your spouse or someone like that, no, you should not have access to a firearm. If you are someone who is prone to do stuff like that, no, you should not have access to a gun. But in this particular case, we're not talking about people who've been convicted of any crime. We're merely talking about people who have been accused, right? And that's where it comes down to. These are people who are accused. In many states, in some states, domestic violence restraining orders are a tool used in divorces in order to get a more favorable divorce settlement. It's not uncommon for spouses to seek a domestic violence restraining order in order to get custody, in order to rationalize why they want to get their divorce. It's not uncommon for them to do it for no reason. Well, I don't want to say for no reason, but it's not uncommon for that to be abused. And there are tons of studies out there that have demonstrated that they have been abused. And what the Supreme Court is hearing is whether or not that should then cause someone to lose their right to keep and bear arms. And I think reasonable people can be on both sides of that. But I also, though, believe that if you believe what the Second Amendment says, the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, then it's a little hard for you to justify. Or explain to folks legally how that makes sense. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I don't.
So I have a story about Nancy Pelosi asking me about guns in a backyard in Beverly Hills.
Really?
I'd like to hear it.
Absolutely.
I know, right? That got even that your attention. Yeah.
Let's hear it.
So I'm back there. I got invited to sing at Tony Bennett's 85th birthday party, and I'm in the backyard of Ted Sarandos, the founder of Netflix. I'm in his backyard. There's John Travolta. Queen Latifah and I are bringing out the birthday cake. I mean, you can't make this up. I'm looking around this backyard going, I'm not supposed to be here, so I'm just going to have some fun. No, one of these things is not like the other. So I'm back there and I'm hanging out, and I see Nancy Pelosi over there starts making a beeline towards me. And I'll be honest, it was frightening. It was frightening. She's coming, and she walks right up to me. She doesn't say hello. She goes, "You seem like a reasonable person." I guess meaning for a guy in a cowboy hat and a handlebar mustache, because otherwise you wouldn't be at this backyard, right? You must be you seem like a reasonable person. I said, well, I appreciate that, Madam Speaker. She goes, can I ask you a question about guns?
Uh-oh.
I said, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
So Vince Vaughn is standing there, and Vince leans in. Travolta's got his arms crossed. He's leaning in.
Great, yeah.
Everybody's leaning in. And Pelosi goes, now, I'm not a hunter, but I'm pretty sure that if I shot that first bullet at whatever I was hunting and I didn't hit it, it would run away. I go, that's correct. She goes, so why does anybody need more than 7 rounds, is what she said. Why does anybody need more than 7 rounds in their gun. And I held up my cell phone. I said, well, Madam Speaker, right now back in Nashville, Tennessee, I have a wife and I got a 3-year-old son and a 5-year-old son. And we live right in the middle of town. I said, now if she had called my phone right now and said, John, I hear footsteps coming up the stairs. I said, Madam Speaker, would you advise me to tell my wife to grab the one with 7 rounds or the one with 30 rounds? And her eyes kind of got big and she said, is that the way you look at that? I said, yes, ma'am. She goes, well, it was nice to meet you, and then just walked off. But for a brief moment, this light bulb pops. I believe, first of all, they know that anyway. That's why they all have armed guards.
Yeah. Yep.
But I was able to, dead in her eye one time, say it's to protect our families. Of course, we don't need 30 rounds to hunt a deer, and there's nothing in the Second Amendment about hunting. It's all about defense.
All right, can you? Oh, there we go. Now you can hear me. Woo. Okay. I know you could see me. Well, those of you who are watching the program, but some of you may have had a hard time hearing me. But what's funny about that is he surprised she didn't just say, "Yeah, I would have told him to grab a hammer." Oh, but I digress. And finally, we got one more for you here. You'll love this one. Bill Maher kind of setting it straight. Bill Maher sounds more and more like a Republican every day.
What do you New Yorkers think of how Mayor Eric Adams and Governor Kathy Hochul?
Yes, you pronounced it right.
I take it you're a big fan. Have handled the city's migrant crisis. I saw today they're offering any of these migrants, this sounds like a game show, a plane trip to anywhere in the world. There's policy, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. But didn't some of these places sort of deserve it? I'll ask you this. By saying we're a sanctuary city, like how these terrible racist border states were, and then when they called their bluff and sent the migrants to them, they were like, suddenly they weren't quite so liberal. They're what I call liberal in theory people. No. A lot of people are liberal in theory, and when the migrants arrived, they were like, what the f***?
See, the interesting thing, once again, is that's how they govern. Liberals govern based on theory. And it's this theory that they want to push because they want, and by the way, in this theory, the world is exactly how they believe it to be, right? Or how they wish it were. And the thing is that that's not where we're at. Conservatives, real conservatives, tend to govern based on the world we're in. Right? The things we know. Human nature, right? That's what we tend to govern based on. That's what the rules and the things that we tend to put forth are based on. Anyway, just found it funny. I like that liberal in theory. Well, there you go. It sounded good on paper. That's pretty much the liberal diatribe right there. It sounded good on paper. That's kind of the way they govern. Anyway, all that having been said, it's about that time. So let's go ahead and give a quick shout out to our sponsors. First, we have Hitman Industries. Just go to hitmanindustries.net. That's hitmanindustries.net. And get your rifle and pistol length barrels today. California Republican Assembly. If you want to be a part of California's future today, join CRA. Got Hog Holsters. Just go to hogholsters.com. Use discount code The Rundown. All caps, no spaces. Get your Hog Holster and get a discount today. Also, uscombatgear.com is the place to go to get all your outdoor and tactical gear. Also want to encourage you, we've talked about this before, you all know, Craig DeLuz, that would be me. I'm running for Congress in California's 6th Congressional District, endorsed by the California Republican Party, endorsed by the Sacramento County Republican Party, the only candidate that's endorsed by multiple local electeds. Now adding Ted Gaines to the group. Ted Gaines is the member of the State Board of Equalization. He is the highest ranking elected Republican in the state of California, long time serving conservative. Anyway, folks, I need your support. This stuff doesn't happen for free. These campaigns don't happen for free. I don't need to raise as much as my opponent, but I do need to raise enough to make sure that I can get the word out. All you got to do is go to craigdeluz.com. It's craigdeluz.com. Click on that donate button and give what you can give. If the most you can give is $3,300. But if you can give a lot, give a lot. If you can give a little, give a little. Then encourage your friends to do the same. And on that note, we're going to call it a day. We're going to be out of here. We'll be back tomorrow on Hump Day. Until then, you guys take care. Have a good evening. Be safe. And we'll see you tomorrow.